Hi everyone, here we go. We are almost at the end of the semester. We only have urinary system, here it is, and then we'll be doing reproductive. So I sent you guys an announcement, excuse me, and I'll also, of course, remind you. All right, urinary. On the surface, urinary doesn't seem very difficult. But the physiology of urinary is actually pretty intense, okay? So for us today, we're talking about urinary. It's going to be rather short. It's not going to be that long. But just understand, even though the anatomy is pretty simple, the physiology is pretty complicated. And if we ask, what is the urinary about? Like, what are the organs? So what are the organs involved? Kidneys, okay? And if we say, what do the kidneys do? Filter the blood, yes? So the kidneys are very vascularized. That means there's a lot of blood flow to the kidneys. And what they do is they filter the blood. So you can think of like they produce urine, right? Urine is waste that we're going to get rid of from our body. But also the urinary does many important jobs. So the homeostasis of water, maintaining water fluid levels, homeostasis of ions like calcium, sodium, potassium. So the urinary has many jobs. The first thing you can think of is waste, getting rid of the waste out of the blood, but it also does many things. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, so learning outcomes just like before. So anatomy, physiology. So the kidneys, the ureters are the tubes that go down the bladder that holds the urine, and then the urethra is the tube that's going to release the urine. So also known as the excretory, genitourinary, urogenital system, produces, stores, eliminates urine. So that's kind of the major idea, but it does a lot more than that. All right, so vital function. Extract certain wastes from the bloodstream, convert these materials to urine, transport urine from kidneys to, eliminate urine. But again, not only that, it also helps with fluid balance, ion balance, and so on. So if we look at the picture, this is a picture. I wish it was, I'll zoom that sucker in. So the kidneys, they're actually towards the back. They're called retroperitoneal. They're towards the back. You'll see this one's a little higher up than that one. That one's a little lower. The liver would be here. So these would be really posterior. Here are the major blood vessels. Here's the inferior vena cava. Here's the aorta. Major blood vasculature going to the kidneys. So here's the adrenals right on top. So here's the ureter. Okay, so when the kidneys filter the blood and then release the urine's going to go down the ureters, go to the bladder, right? The storage sac for urine, and then out through the urethra. And to give you, I think this is really helpful, right? You could see the pelvis, okay? So the symphysis pubis would be right here. The bladder would be right behind it, okay? Whoops, didn't want to do that. Okay. So the major organs, move me out of the way here. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll go right there. Okay. Kidneys produce urine, help regulate, control body fluids. Ureters transport urine to the bladder. Bladder, reservoir for urine. It's a storage sac for urine. And the urethra. So here we go, right? Kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra. Okay. So bean-shaped organs, yes. Yes, there are capsules of the kidney. Let me see if they actually cut through. Yeah, they do. It always helps to see a picture. External. Okay, here's a picture. So if we cut through the kidney, look at, this is the renal artery. Okay, so bringing blood to the kidney. And then here, there's going to be filtration, and then here's the vein, taking blood away from the kidney. But if we zoom in on the kidney, every kidney has these things, this yellow, tan-looking thing. This is called a ureter. Okay, excuse me. No, this is called a nephron. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the macroscopic. Okay, this is called a nephron. The nephron is the functional unit of the kidney. And every kidney is made of more than 1,000,000 nephrons. Okay. Look at this. Lots of blood. Blood flow, blood flow. And so here, these are called the renal pyramids. And we zoom in on it. Here, there's what's called the glomerulus. It's a capillary ball, and filtration will happen here, and then reabsorption will happen here. And here's the collecting duct. And when the fluid goes here, that'll be urine, and then it'll go here to the renal pelvis, okay, and then to the ureter, to the bladder, and out of the body. So every kidney is made of more than 1,000,000 of these things. Okay. So cortex, this part of the kidney is called the cortex, has all the glomeruli, the little capillary balls where the filtration happens. The medulla is the inner portion. That's this part, okay? And it's made out of mainly tubes. So if you look, the cortex is right here, cortex. The medulla is right there. Nephrons, the structural functional unit of the kidney. So this tan looking thing is the nephron. And so every kidney has more than 1,000,000 nephrons, okay? Each nephron has the corpuscle with the glomerulus. The glomerulus is the capillary ball. The tubules, okay? So if we look, again, here, we'll zoom in. So the glomerulus is that capillary ball, and so blood is coming in, stuff is filtering out, okay? And then the filtrate's gonna go in here. And then this is where all the fine tuning, all the regulation's gonna happen. So reabsorption back into the blood. By the time we're all the way out, then the stuff in here is gonna be the urine. So there's pretty indiscriminate filtration, but then reabsorption. And then what you're getting rid of is what you don't need. So what if you're dehydrated? If you're dehydrated, the kidney's gonna reabsorb the water. What if you're really hydrated? If you're really hydrated, the kidney is going to release the water. Same with sodium. You hear about sodium, salt. The kidney is involved with regulating salt, fluid absorption, again, potassium, calcium, all that good stuff, plus all the junk like urea. Urea is a major waste product from protein metabolism. Okay. So nephron, structural, okay. Tubule, yes. Nephron, vital function, regulate, control, remove waste products of metabolism from the blood plasma. Plays a vital role in the maintenance of normal fluid balance in the body by regulating reabsorption of water, allowing select electrolytes back into the blood. So there's filtration, reabsorption, and some secretion. And by the time we're in the collecting duct, right, by the time the fluid's in here, now it's going to go out and then out of the body. Okay, so telling you about gestation, what's happening in an infant. So each kidney has a ureter. These tubes drain the urine to the bladder, the inner outer portion. Then the bladder. The bladder is this kind of flexible bag almost. It can really get big and it can get small. It holds the urine, right? The walls of the bladder, so epithelium inside, smooth muscle. Then the urethra, depending if you're male or female, right? The urethra is going to be either short or long. Okay. So male urethra about 20 centimeters long. Okay. Female about 3 centimeters long. So huge difference. And actually, we see a difference. Females are more likely to get UTIs or urinary tract infections versus males. Their urethra is really short. Okay. And then there's the whole thing about the proximity to the anus. And, with the anus, so the digestive tract, and then there's bacteria that's in the digestive tract. If it's supposed to only be there, if it gets into the urinary tract, now it can cause a UTI. Now, why is it called UTI? Why isn't it just called infection, urinary tract infection? Because if the bacteria get here, they can get in here. And then if it's really bad, the infection can go here and it can actually infect the kidneys, which would be very bad. It has to be treated. So if anyone has pain during urination, it's like, what are the signs of a UTI? Pain, okay? Cloudy urine, Sometimes people say it feels like, they're peeing razor blades. Okay. Blood, if there's blood in the urine, that's not a good sign. Back pain, abdominal pain. Okay. And again, you don't want the UTI to go into here. How long can you live without your kidneys? Not long ago at all. Okay, like 24 hours. You can't live long at all. The kidneys are doing vital, important functions to your body. So you do not want a UTI to go up into that. All right. So it says urinary meatus. Okay. So here's a section through the male, right? For the male, here is the urethra, right? So for the male, it would release either semen, right? So part of the reproductive tract, or urine type, the part of the urinary tract. So here's the bladder, here's the urethra, right? So normally it's going to be urine that passes through. During reproduction, right? Here's the testy making sperm. Here's the vas deferens, goes around behind the bladder. Here's the prostate, okay, around the urinary, the urethra. And then, so that would release semen. So sometimes, not sometimes, many times, as males get older, the prostate gets larger, an enlarged prostate. And you could see if someone has an enlarged prostate, it's going to cause problems with urination. It makes it harder to urinate. Well, look, here's the urethra, the tube that's carrying the urine out. If this is enlarged, it's going to press on the urethra. Here's female, right? So here is the vagina, here's the rectum, right? And then so here anterior, here's anterior, here is the urethra. So look how short that is, urethra and then the bladder. So again, wiping, I know that sounds funny. You should always, after going to the restroom, right? You should always wipe front to back. You don't want to wipe back to front. If you wipe back to front, and here, right? The E. coli, the bacteria can get over here and then it can cause an infection. So you want clean hygiene. So UTIs are common in children, E. coli, Escherichia coli, because Klebsiella protease cause most UTIs seen in children. The signs, symptoms vary depending on the child. So how do we know if someone's sick, if they have an infection? Again, the pain. Fever would be a sign also. So let's look in babies. Okay, what if babies get UTIs? Fever, weight loss, nausea, vomiting, depends. Yeah, increased urination, foul smelling urine, diaper rash, failure to thrive. Those would be bad signs. Yes. Older children, frequent painful urination, abdominal pain, hematuria. That's talking about blood in the urine. Fever, chills, bedwetting. Urine formed by the process of filtration, reabsorption in the nephron. Yes, and all those nephrons. 95. What is urine made of? 95% is water, 5% solid substances, secreted by kidneys, transported by ureter to the bladder, or it's stored before being discharged via the urethra. So here, this is a beautiful picture. This would be in the kidney. Here's the glomerulus. That's a capillary ball. And then, so filtration here, okay, and then reabsorb. There's A filtration, then reabsorption. Stuff's going to get reabsorbed back into the blood. That seems a little weird, but it happens, okay? And then some secretion. Stuff could be released into the nephron, and then collecting duct. And then here with the collecting tubule or duct, the urine is going to go out and then again go to the renal pelvis, then go to the ureter. How much does a person urinate? Average about 300, 350 milliliters urine. An average 1,000 is 1,500 is voided daily. Urine, right, has different colors, have different pH, have different specific gravity. We can analyze urine to see what's going on in the body. Changes, okay, as we get older, things happen, okay, losing the muscle tone, bladder, urethra, bladder capacity can be reduced by half, frequent trips to the bathroom. There's incontinence, not being able to hold urine. Um, if we look, right, there's a muscle that's around the urethra. Okay, that doesn't show it. There's a muscle around the urethra, and the muscle is always contracted. And when you urinate, the muscle relaxes, and then it allows urine out. So, as we get older, people can lose control of that. In men, incontinence may cause benign prostatic hyperplasia or by prostate cancer. So again, prostate issues are very common. Urgent incontinence most common in women, like having to urinate. Urinalysis. Okay, so we can evaluate and look at the urine. What are the things that we do? So one of the common things, if someone goes to the doctor and they're not feeling well, etc., we could do a physical on them. Yeah, we always take temperature. We look, we do heart, we do lung, we listen to the heart, listen to the lungs. You look at the throat, look at the ears, look at the eye. Well, depending on what the issue is, we might do a urinalysis where we analyze the urine, right? So lab tests that evaluates the physical, chemical, microscopic properties of urine. A freshly voided urine specimen provides more accurate test results. When a bacteriologic culture is to be done, the specimen is collected by catheterization. So they could put a catheter up in there. Urinalysis is a valuable diagnostic tool. It tells you what's going on. For example, what if there's sugar in the urine? Sugar should not be in the urine. Sugar is important. If it's in the urine, it's a sign of diabetes. Okay, should not have blood in the urine. If there's blood in the urine, it could be a sign. We could look at sodium, we could look at potassium. That could tell us how things are functioning. We could look at protein. Depending on what proteins are in the urine, it could tell us how the liver is functioning, and so on. So normal conditions or diseases can be quickly and easily detected because the physical chemical constituents of normal urine are constant. So the things we look at: color, right? What's it like? If it's reddish, we might have some blood, okay? Greenish, black, might have some bile. So, right, tells you something about the body. Appearance, right, can tell you something about it. Reaction, is it acidic? Is it alkaline? Usually urine is acidic, but if it's higher than normal, that might tell you something. If it's basic, that might tell you something. Specific gravity, right, tells you something. That's kind of like, the best way I could say that is like how dense it is, what's in there. Odor, okay. If it's sweet, that sounds funny, doesn't it? It might be diabetes, right? Because you're not supposed to have sugar. If it's unpleasant, decomposition of drugs, food, alcohol, right? Quantity, too much, too little, that tells you something. Protein, again, protein could tell you if there's something wrong with the kidneys. Glucose could tell you if there's diabetes. Ketones, it could tell you, again, diabetes. Bilirubin could tell you about what's happening with the liver, with the heart. Blood, again, renal disease, trauma, it could tell you what's going on. Nitrites, that has to do with, are there bacteria in there? Urobilinogen, that has to do with the liver also, right? It says biliary obstruction, antibiotic therapy, hepatic hemolytic disease. So there's a constant in urine, right? And we know what the normal is. And if there are things abnormal, that could tell us if there's disease. So albuminuria, right? Albumin, that's a protein. And then urea, we're talking about urine. Cystectomy. Ectomy, what are we talking about? Okay, and then cyst, bladder, ectomy, we're taking it out, surgical excision. So now going into some of the issues, okay? And so some of the common issues, okay? Calculi, urinary calculi, we're talking about stones, okay? Stones can be caused for different reasons. Stones can be very painful. And trying to pass a stone can be very painful. So they show that. It says a pebble, any abnormal concentration, stone, calculi, yes. Here, right? So we can have a bag, we can have a catheter, and that's what they say. This is on page 408. A catheter would be a tube inserted into the urethra, right, to collect urine. And so they do that. It depends on why they would do that. If someone's had surgery or if someone's having issues with urination, etc. Cystitis, okay? If we ever say itis, what is that? Inflammation, yes. So inflammation of the bladder. It says it's very common, occurs more than 6 million Americans a year, frequently affects sexually active women, can also occur those who are not sexually active. All right, females, again, we're talking about UTI, if the bladder is inflamed, and females are more prone, okay? It says females are more prone to cystitis because of shorter urethra, short distance between opening of urethra and the anus. Interstitial cystitis, painful inflammation of the bladder, okay? About 450,000 people suffer from this. 90% are women. Symptoms can be varied. Causes unknown. Does not respond well to antibiotic therapy. So that's not very good. Dis, what do you think that means? Is it happening or not happening? Nope. Okay. Difficult, painful. And then urea, we're talking about, yes, urine. Now, this is really interesting, right? What if someone has bladder stones and they, not bladder, kidney stones, and they want to remove it? I don't know if you've ever heard of this. They can use shock therapy. So they're using this to break up the stones. Okay, that looks horrible. Yes, they do this in water, and they're actually using electrical waves. Okay, the person is put under. Okay, that would be very painful. Okay. They water immersion, acoustic shock waves generate from shockwave generator, travel through the soft tissue to shatter the stones into fragments, which are then eliminated in the urine. So again, it is the idea of it is to break up the stones, make them smaller, and then the person can urinate it out. Okay, so shock waves. Normal glomerulus, the glomerulus, that capillary ball, okay, this would be the wall, and here are red blood cells. This is normal, okay, and then that's where the filtration is going to happen. This would be, look at this. This does not look normal, okay? So it says acute glomerulonephritis. Again, itis, we're talking about inflammation. Nephritis, the nephron, and then inflammation here. So what would cause that, right? It says inflammation of the kidney involving primary, okay? 3 types: acute, chronic, subacute. So if there's an inflammation, right? What if there's an infection? What's happening? Why would there be white blood cells? Okay. Hematuria, we're talking about blood in the urine. The urine might look kind of, they say soda colored. This would be if we look at the urine under the microscope. There should not be blood in the urine. If there's blood, it's indication of different things. Now, that's why when you're a female, if you go to the doctors and they take a urine specimen, they always ask, when was your period? Because if you had your period, etc., there might be blood. But if you're not on your period, there should not be any blood. So if there's damage, if things are bleeding, that might be the reason why. Hemodialysis. We've probably heard of dialysis. Okay, what is that? So if someone's kidneys stop working, okay, then they have to go on dialysis. Again, you cannot survive, okay, without the kidneys working, because what would happen is the toxins would build up in the person's body, and we don't want that to happen. So they have to go on this machine called dialysis. And what does that do? Literally, look at this. Okay, it takes hours. It's not fast. It's a long process. And from what I've heard, because I've had students who've had dialysis, it's really tiring. It's exhausting. The person feels really exhausted after the procedure. Okay, so what are they doing? Literally, they're taking the blood out from the person. Okay, they're putting it through a filter. Okay, cleaning the blood, and then they're putting it back in. Clean blood returned to the patient. Wow. Okay. So the kidneys aren't working, so they're doing the job of the kidneys. If a person's on dialysis, they need to have dialysis all the time. I forget, every few days or twice a week, they have to have dialysis. And again, really long procedure. It's not an easy procedure, but they have no choice. Okay. What are the causes? Okay. Damage to the kidneys would be a cause. Diabetes is a huge reason that people lose, because diabetes damages the fine blood vessels, okay, and the glomeruli, those little capillary balls. And remember, there's like 1,000 of them in the kidneys. If they get damaged, now the kidneys aren't doing their job, okay. So in the book, it talks about it. It says use of artificial, it's like an artificial kidney to separate waste from the blood. The blood is circulated through the tubes, can be semi-permeable membranes. These tubes are continually bathed in solution to remove the wastes. Hydronephrosis. Hydro, what are we talking about? We're talking about water. And nephrosis, there's something going on with the nephron, right? So pathological condition in which urine collects in the renal pelvis because of an obstructed outflow, thereby causing distension, damage to the kidney. If the fluid's building up, that pressure can ruin the kidney. Can be caused by renal calculi, so those stones, kidney stones, tumor will do it. Hyperplasia of the prostate gland, so the prostate gland can do it. So things that are obstructing urine flow, and the urine's backing up, and then it's going to cause damage to the kidney. So not good. Bilateral, both kidneys are having problems. Unilateral, one kidney's having problems. And if one kidney's having problems, the other kidney, it says it's enlarged, it's compensating, doing the job, right? It says obstruction by calculus, so a stone can damage the kidney, or here, the prostate. Nephrolithiasis, we're talking about the nephron, the kidney. Lith, stone, iasis, condition. Renal calculi, so again, we're talking about stones. And they can, they can originate here, they can move down the ureter, they can move down the urethra. And again, from what I understand, this is very painful. I've had students who've had it. And sometimes you just got to go through it, right? Where the stone has to go through the urethra, and it's incredibly painful. Renal calculi stones can form in several areas within the urinary tract. When they form, they usually rise within the renal pelvis. That would be this part, the renal pelvis. Forming the condition nephrolithiasis. Stones can also form obstruction of the ureter, bladder, urethra. So that's bad, right? If they block the urine flow. All right. So if they want to go in and break those stones, okay, it says percutaneous ultrasonic lithotripsy. Looks horrible. Again, the kidneys are towards the back, okay? They're going in, okay, and they're breaking up that stone. They're using ultrasound, a nephroscope, right, to see, nephron, kidney, is inserted into the renal pelvis. Ultrasounds are used to fragment the stones, the fragments that are removed through the nephroscope. Peritoneal dialysis. That's kind of really neat. There's a way to have dialysis without having to go through the whole, big machine. And so using it says separation of waste of blood by using peritoneal catheter. Dialysis fluid is introduced into the peritoneal cavity. So here, right, fluid's going in there. And waste from the blood passed into this fluid. The fluid and waste are then removed from the body, right? They're going to be removed from the body. Types, peritoneal, intermittent. Okay. Infection, yes, how can infection happen, right? So if an infection is moving through here, we can get an infection. There's different ways, right? Usually from the lower urinary tract, the ureters, into the renal pelvis. And again, we don't want that to happen. I remember having a student, I've had several students actually, who had a UTI, who didn't go in to get it checked, and then it went to their kidneys. And again, usually the sign that there's a problem, there's a fever. Usually there's pain, but sometimes it's really interesting to me. Sometimes people don't have pain. Okay, again, pain is actually a good thing because pain is telling you that something is wrong. You've got to take care of it, right? So if there's no pain, they're like, well, I've had 2 students end up in the hospital because of that, and then their kidneys had the infection. So not a good thing. Got to take care of it. Can we do kidney transplants? Absolutely, we can. So for those people where their kidneys are not functioning, they can get a donor, right? You have to have a good match. And then here, right, they can get a kidney transplant. And then that beautiful new kidney can do the job. Like, how neat is that? Urinometer, right? Looking at the urine sample, right? It says information concentration of solids. Okay. Urologist, what do you think that is? Okay, so uro and ologist, the study of, well, it's one who specializes, right? It's a person who specializes in that. Finally, some drug highlights. So looking at that, drug highlights. So some of the drugs that are used, this is on page 427. Diuretics, what would diuretics do? They make you urinate, right? So there's different reasons for that. Antibacterials, of course, right? So if someone has a UTI, we're probably going to use antibacterials. Antiseptics, cleaning that out. Other drugs. Diagnostic tests, blood urea. Again, this has to do with protein and metabolism. Creatinine, that has to do with metabolism again. Clearance, it actually tells the urologist how well the kidneys are working. You're doing a urine culture, looking for microorganisms, right? So looking for an infection. Cystoscopy, like looking in. IVP, renal biopsy, pyelography. This is kind of really neat. We can see this where they put some dyes in there so they can look at the whole urinary tract. And then finally, some abbreviations that you might see in this chapter. All right, so we are done with this chapter. Again, on the outside, the anatomy seems really easy. We're just talking about kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra, right? But on the inside, there's a lot of stuff happening, okay? So filtration of the blood, reabsorption, and then some secretion, and finally we have some urine. All right, this will finish up this week. Please do your homework, just like always. Homework, do my lab, and then next week we're doing reproduction, and actually next week is our last week, and then we're going to have a final. The final is just going to be another test, and what that test is going to be, it's going to be on urinary and on reproductive, and with reproductive we'll do male and female. All right, okay, hope you guys are well, and see you later.